I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Flatlander Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman. And like I told you before, we are going to be trying to put out episodes every Wednesday instead of every other Wednesday. And the number one way that you can help us out is just spread the word about the podcast. We're getting great feedback from people that are listening to it. We just want to spread it to all of those dog guys and girls that you know that are in the training game, that have hunting dogs that you think would enjoy this. Share it with them. Take an episode, share it on Facebook, and just spread the word about it. So today we're going to be doing a Q&A episode. Are you all geared up and ready to go, Chris?
Man, I am so excited. I can't contain myself. Ready to go.
Ready to roll. Well, you got any great words of wisdom, or you want to jump right in?
No, let's jump right in and let's get rocking and rolling. We're going to try to answer as many as we can. Yeah, everybody keep them coming. We love the interaction on the Facebook page. I like to look at the comments and stuff too. There's been a lot of really good comments and people really jumping in there and trying to help. And I like to see that. I like to see different perspectives of other people because listen, I don't know everything, and it's fun to see what other people think and how to get through things. I've enjoyed actually reading those for sure.
Right. And one person, I remember it was, they were acting kind of apologetic that they were answering someone's question. And I was like, no, we want people to interact on these questions. So if someone
that's Jason. That was Jason. That he owns Ozzy, who just got his grand title. He's a great guy. He just didn't want to come across as a know-it-all. And Jason's a good dog guy. He's a good dog person. And that was a good answer to his question.
Right. And we encourage you guys to jump in on the conversation and give your thoughts, give your opinions. And we want as much dialogue as possible, and then we can talk about it here on the podcast. So this,
we don't really want to make the podcast the Grant Hatch question answer podcast, but we want to interact.
We will say congratulations to Grant for his Peachy's
Grant Pass. Congratulations, Carl. We love it.
Yeah, Carl. All right. I just found out about that nickname, Grant. I don't know if Grant is gonna grace me with the ability to use that nickname, or if that's like specialized.
It's pretty specialized, but we'll see.
He may not be okay with.
No, he's good, dude. Great guy. So
yeah, Grant Hatch is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So this first question actually didn't come from the Facebook group. This came from a different dog group. I can't remember which one it was on Facebook, and I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to hear how Chris answers this. So here we go. Does I have a name? No, this guy says, my dog is a 3-year-old HRCH. We ran our first Q last Friday and it was a disaster. Got sucked back into the flyer station on almost an inline mark. 26 dog Q, only 11 made it to the next series. Most of the dogs dropped because they sucked back into the flyer station. Then he trained Saturday for his upcoming master's test, and the dog did all right. Trained Sunday, and it was a train wreck. Hunting short, and when he did make it to the area of the fall, his hunts got bigger and bigger. Did not train yesterday. Today did a simple mom and pop double at about 150 yards. He picked up the go bird fine. Then the memory bird, the wheels came off. Kicked him off. He backsided the gun, returned to the old fall, hunted deep, short, and anything else that he could do wrong. At this point, I don't know if he could mark a 747 in a parking lot. Not sure what to do. Master test this weekend. I'm on the fence of scratching him and eat the entry fee to avoid another train wreck.
Simplify. Your dog isn't it didn't blow up because of just that day of the qual. It was the days leading up to the qual. You're probably overtraining. I know you said in HRCH, you're trying to run master and you're trying to run quals. So you're probably putting a lot on that dog, like lots of great big long marks. And in there, didn't he say the hunts get bigger and bigger and bigger?
In one time, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what he's doing is he's running really long marks, qual level marks, maybe open level, big marks. And with those big marks comes big hunts. Okay. So not marking the bird very well, great big hunts. He lets the dog hunt huge, and then now the dog, when the dog's not finding the mark, its default is to hunt really hard and big because that's what it was doing on the long marks. So, and now he's trying to run mom and pop doubles at 150 yards. Mom and pop double is hard. That's a very tight line on a mom and pop double. If your dog is struggling marking and is marking confidence, don't run mom and pop doubles. Don't run tight marks, multiple marks. Run singles. Like run that left, mom and pop. Run the right to left one as a single. Come back in. Maybe run a bird in the mouth on the one that's thrown left to right. Run them as singles. Okay. If your dog is struggling with marking, do not run more multiples. Back off. Simplify. Run lots of bird in the mouth singles. Maybe run a shorter ABCD drill. Run, singles off of multiple guns. Maybe open it up a little bit so the marks or, the areas of the fall aren't overlapping. You do whatever you got to do to simplify everything. Don't add pressure because what's ended up happening is now the dog has lost his marking confidence and now it's defaulting into great big hunts and really bad decisions. It doesn't even know where to go because the dog is so confused. So every decision the dog is making, when he just said the wheels are falling off, it's making every decision the dog is making is an unconfident decision, which is a bad decision. Mm-hmm. It's not an educated, confident decision because he doesn't even know where to run to.
How long do a dog in that type of situation, how long do you think that or it would take to rebuild that confidence where all of that is in the rearview mirror?
Don't know the dog. Don't know if pressure was added at the wrong places. Don't know if that dog went back to the old fall. If the guy burned him up in the old fall. I don't know if there's any correction. It's hard to say, but I will tell you, unless you simplify and make things simpler, it's going to take a long time. Because if you're trying to get a master title and you're trying to do a qual at the same time, back off on the quals. Quit the quals. Concentrate on master stuff. Simplify a little bit, and maybe try to come back in to run quals again. Like I said, I don't know the dog, but I do know if your dog is experiencing any kind of mental stress in marking and they're making horrible decisions, 9 times out of 10, less pressure is the way to go, not more pressure. More pressure is going to make it worse.
Yeah.
So it's just simplify it. It's just the dog has got to be successful. Now, once the dog de-stresses and relaxes and starts being successful on simpler marks, now I'll start making this maybe even the singles harder. Then the dog has success on harder singles. Now, when an animal and a dog starts having success on harder marks, their confidence actually raises because now these harder marks aren't so scary. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then once that starts happening, then maybe start introducing some multiples again. But don't start introducing super tight multiples because now you're going to go defeated. Open up maybe a more wide open multiple where the dog, really has to screw up not to find the mark getting back into an old fall. Don't keep setting the dog up for failure. Because if you keep setting the dog up for failure, you're going to fail. So back off, simplify.
Can you get to the point where if you don't simplify and you just keep adding pressure that you just break a dog down and they never recover from it?
Yeah, you can. They can get to the point where they may. I don't know what the dog's personality is, but if you've got a soft dog that's some dogs are born confident, some dogs are not. If you have an unconfident dog and you keep doing that to him every single day, you've just destroyed the will of it. It's like a football player, 7th grade football player. If the coach tells you you're useless and worthless and he puts you up against your tackling drills against the hardest hitting guy on the team, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right? You're done. You're going to quit. So
you'll be able to see that in the dog's body language.
When they start making decisions like that, when they start making decisions like what he's describing, that dog has no idea where to run to. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know where the safe place is to go to make the right decision.
Yeah.
He's making every decision the wrong decision. So simplify a lot. And people, if you're listening to this, simplify. I like to run really tight setups off of multiple guns, and that dogs have to take straight lines, and they go where the mark is, they pick them up, come back. Those really, really tight multiple setups are really hard to do on a daily basis because you're going to disintegrate them mentally.
All right, let's move on. This one is from the Facebook group. This is Tanner Whitmire. When you are talking about lining dogs up on marks they don't see fall, how would you train for that if your dogs are seeing all the marks? Would you do an attention getter at the gun and have the bird already planted?
Yeah, you could do that. We've talked about this in depth. We call them point and shoot dogs. You could do that's one way to do it. You could put a holding blind out there and just throw put a bird out there in the area of the fall and the dog didn't see it. And just talk them into it. That's it right there. That's it. Kick them off and teach them where to go. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. One way I like to do to start out, especially the young dogs, if you have a thrower that's throwing for you, is throw your marks out, do whatever you want to do. But then if they say you have one mark out there, it's a holding blind and a thrower, and the dog's looking at the holding blind out there, and don't make them super long right now. Make them at the most 100 yards at the most. Don't make them real long because you want to start simplify on this thing and start easy and get them harder. But 100 yards at the most, maybe even 75. But have a bird already laying out there in the area of the fall, and maybe have your gunner step out and go, hey, and fake a throw. And then, but you're not throwing anything; you're just faking a throw. And the dog will perk its head up and go, "What did I miss?" You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now have that maybe gunner still stand there and go, "Where's that mark at? Where's that mark, Georgie?" And kick him off and throw him out in that area and line him to the area of the fall. Now, if that dog gets in the area of fall, starts hunting, picks it up, brings it back, great. If it doesn't, if it blows through the area of the fall or it misses the mark and gets really big hunt, then you can have the handler go, hey, help that dog get back in the area of the fall so it's successful picking up the mark. Does that make sense?
Right. I don't recall seeing you ever actually train for dogs not seeing the marks.
I don't typically train for that to happen. I don't typically.
Why don't you? I would think you would as many times as you see that.
It just happens over the course of time in training that dogs don't see marks. And especially when we're getting ready for the Grand, we don't make a big deal out of it. We just stand up and line up the dog and kick him off and see if we can pick it up.
Right. So they experience it enough on their own.
Yeah, they experience enough on their own that they learn it. But if you really want to train for it, that's one way to do it. Like I said, you can have a bird already out there. But what I like to have out there, if you're going to do that, I like to have a gun out there, somebody throwing. That way, if the dog takes a perfect line and he just misses the bird, goes right over top of the bird, instead of stopping the whistle and stopping all their momentum and calling them back in, that gunner can help them, which is a lot more fun for the dog and gives them more confidence.
Yeah.
So,
which I saw you guys doing that all the time.
All the time. And
that's the main reason that you don't use throwers out there, isn't it?
We use throwers.
You typically use people hand throwing instead of wingers for that reason. For that reason, to help them, to keep them in there. It's much better marking. But there's a lot of different ways to teach a dog to take a straight line. And if the dog starts veering off one way or another and they give into the factor, you stop them, correct them, put them back on line, and put them back in the area. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. You can stop them, recall them all the way back, and kick them back off again. Now, I like to do this, especially if the dog knows to fight the factor. If it's just it knows I've handled a dog before, it knows it's an advanced type dog. I'll do one of two things. If the mark is thrown left to right, and that's a little bit farther mark, 150, 200 yards, whatever it is, and it's running at the mark and it's going to backside the gun. I can see it backside the gun. I'll stop them at a younger age. I'll stop them. I'll handle them back online, put them on the bird, and then maybe rethrow that mark, and then maybe run a blind or two and go back out and pick it up. If it's an older dog and they're going to backside the gun, right? It's going to backside that gun. I'll stop them. I may or may not give a correction. I probably won't even give a correction. I'll call them all the way back to me. I'll line them back up and I'll kick them back off. Mm-hmm. And now if that dog shoots way far to the right to try to overcorrect and stop them, recall them. Now I'll have the gunner step out and go, hey. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. Have the gunner go back behind the blind. I'll kick them off again and let them go. Just give them that extra added confidence to get out there. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Brock Harrison. Or no, Jeff Duffner is the next one. He wants to know about weekend seminars and if you're going to be doing any of those in the future. And he's also asking about prices and how many dogs you normally have.
We do weekend seminars. I've done a lot of them over the years. I've flown into Texas and Utah and Idaho, and I do in classroom seminars, which I really like to give. It's a 2-day in classroom seminar with material and books and drawings, and I really like to give that one. We also do seminars here at the kennel. I usually do 1 or 2 a year. I think we're going to have one this summer. I don't know when it's going to be. I just got to figure all that out. And I also do come to other places and give 2-day infield seminars. A good rule of thumb about having your team handler seminars with a dog is you have to figure out what you want. If it's a basics, they're young dogs. If you're wanting an advanced seminar, make sure the dogs are advanced. HRCH, Master Hunters are above. What you don't want to have is dogs starting to do force fetch in an advanced seminar. That isn't much fun. So, but and then the prices, you just have to get a hold of me for the prices. But I do enjoy giving seminars. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy talking to people and teaching like that. I really do. And I like going all over the place to do it. But we do seminars, and our weekends are very limited. But yeah, we do them, of course. Just get a hold of me and we can make something happen. And I've done like winter seminars. So in the winter when nobody's really training or whatever, I do a lot of times those are classroom seminars. And I'll do like from the obedience all the way to advanced in the class during the summer in a 2-day seminar.
Awesome. Yeah. What's the email address? I mean, they can find you on Facebook.
They can get me on Facebook, or they can just email me at flatlanderkennels@gmail.com. They can email me there and or get a hold of me on Facebook. But I'd be more than happy to give some seminars. They're not a problem at all.
All right, next one, Brock Harrison. How can I get my dog to be more focused on me at heel instead of sniffing the ground, looking around? He stays in a relatively good position at heel, but his heel work isn't as crisp as I'd like due to his lack of attention on me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
You need to make the dog stay up with you. So if he's not paying attention to you and you have him on a leash or something, the second he sniffs the ground, change direction. Like turn to the right and say here and snap his head around. He doesn't pay attention to you. Stop, turn the other way. Keep moving, turning, twisting, doing figure eights. So he has to pay attention to you where you're going. And then once that dog is collar conditioned, you'll take the lead off of him. Now you have the e-collar, and now that's your attention getter. And if he's not paying attention to you, like I said, walking figure eights, keep turning, moving directions, stopping, starting, twisting, spinning, and they have to pay attention to where you're at. And then use the collar to get them to pay attention and to keep it's up to them to keep their relationship with you, not you with them. So.
Right. Move more, snap that head. All right. Dan
Correct.
Jurgens, what suggestions does one have for fine tuning when lining up for a blind retrieve? When doing the wagon wheel drill, he can see the bumpers and aligns great and will handle it a long distance. Is this something that magically comes after 1,000 cold blind retrieves?
Well, my buddy Rhett Riddle, who we're going to have on this podcast here pretty soon, he answered this question with 32-point wagon wheel. Everybody, do not do 32-point wagon wheel. He was kidding. He wanted to see me try to explain 32-point wagon wheel. So do not do that. But I have done 16-point wagon wheel, and that's okay to do. That's where you do the 8 white bumpers and then the farther distance, the orange ones. I don't even recommend that. That's too much. But thank you, Rhett, for getting everybody to try to get me to explain 32-point wagon wheel, which I am not going to do. So, but fine tuning on a blind retrieve, I don't know if he means. I wish I knew exactly what he meant as far as if the dog is off 10 or 15 degrees, or if it's bugging or whatever. But yes, you can do a no drill where you make them jump the log, and if they go the wrong way, no here, then they come over and they just move over back, and then you do that. That's a great for getting better, crisper, straighter lines. A no drill is fantastic. That way, if you want them to go at 12 o'clock and they run at 11 o'clock, you go no here, come back, kick them off at 12 o'clock, and then off they go. And that involves jumping a log or something a barrier of some sort, an obstacle of some sort. If they try to run around it, you give them a no here to get them to go over it straight. So, but a no drill would be good for that. I like to use like a 5-legged blind, and I'm not necessarily a pattern blind. You can start it out as pattern blinds, but once your dog is good at pattern blinds, we don't run them ever again. We don't run them anymore. We stick with all cold blinds, but you can run a 5-legged pattern blind. And then once they get good at that, you can go into a 5-legged cold blind, so their lines are tighter. Now,
Can you describe what a 5-legged pattern blind is?
Oh, you would have like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Right.
Just all the way around you, 5 legs.
Yeah.
So the lines are tighter. But you got to be careful, Dan, too, is if you got a bugging dog that's head bugging, the longer you stand up there, go, no, here, here, sit right there, good. Here. The more you do that, and the more they start bugging, the more they're going to bug, because they realize that the longer they bug, they don't have to leave. So you just got to get them close and kick them off. And then if they get off a line, then you handle them back on line. We teach lining in our kennel through handling, and you're right. It takes 1,000 blind retrieves. Some dogs are natural liners, and they look out, they're very confident, and they run like hell, and they're perfect. Some dogs are better handlers. But eventually, you will usually get really nice, fine, confident, crisp, straight lines through handling. If you kick them off, and you go, no, here, get in here, and you kick them off, no, here, get in, you keep doing that to them, eventually, they're not going to want to look out there anymore because they don't know where to go. You've confused them so much. If you get them relatively close, kick them off and let them go. Even if the blind's at 12 o'clock, let's say the blind's at 12 o'clock, and they leave to 11, let them leave at 11 o'clock and go as far as you can, because they think they're doing it right. The longer that they get to run, they think they're doing it right. And then let them go at 11 o'clock and then handle them to 12 o'clock. Who cares? You're not trying to win the blind that day. You're just trying to get the dog to run with confidence and run straight. So if you kick them off at 11 o'clock, and you don't stop them, they think they're running the right way, and then handle them to 12. Well, then eventually, when they're looking where you want them to go, you kick them off, they'll run straighter and they'll run longer because you're not nitpicking them to death all the time. Does that make sense?
That's speaking to my heart. All right, let me write that one down, because I think in training I have been trying to win the blind too much, and I need to let her run.
Absolutely.
One thing she needs to improve on is that straight running line long.
Yeah, because you're trying to win the damn thing. If they're looking at you, the blind's at 11 o'clock and they go to 11, at 12 o'clock, and they go to 11. No, here, get in here. And the next thing you know, now they run to 1 o'clock. No, here, get in here. And eventually, I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. So if the blind's at 12 o'clock, and if they go to 10 o'clock, now that's different. Or if they shoot off, that's different. But if they're just a few degrees off, like 11 or 1 o'clock, let them go. Let them. Who cares? Let them go, because the longer they run, the more confident they get.
Yeah.
And then
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
Then handle them to the blind. Who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Who cares?
Yeah.
Eventually, now they have confidence looking out. Like, oh man, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it, and then you just handle them. Who cares? When you handle them, they're not thinking, "Ooh, I took a wrong initial line. I'm being handled." They don't think that.
Yeah.
Now, when they leave on a bad initial line, no here. Now they're like, "Oh man, I didn't go the right way." Then they start getting really nervous. Then they start getting buggy, and then the longer they bug, the more you go, "No here, no here, no here." Then the more they do it, the longer they don't have to do it. But if they're relatively close, let them go. Let them go. And the longer they run without you involved, the more confident they get.
That's one thing that Georgie needs to improve on, that I feel like, man, why doesn't she run harder, straighter lines? Well, now I know it's me.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you become
too much of a habit of stopping her early.
Yeah, if you're stopping them at every 5 yards every single time, you never let them gain momentum.
Yeah.
And when you start casting, if you give an angle, don't try to win the blind. If you're struggling with an angle cast, don't chop. If you're struggling with them carrying their angles, don't chop them to the blind. Let them carry their angle, even if they're getting way off a whack. Let them carry their angle confidently, and then just feather them back over. Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
great. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Josh Burke says he just finished listening to the Water Force podcast and had a question. In Water Force, how do you balance good straight to the water in the test environment versus going around obstacles, cliffs, impassable cover, etc. in the hunting environment? Some places we hunt, the dog may have to angle away from the blind and bird on the gun trail just to get to the water and then turn to get the bird. Do you send the dog on a mark with the direction on his own or send them down the game trail on a blind, then redirect? So hunting versus
Well,
training.
Hunting and training are very different things. But first things first, if the straight line to the mark or the bird is dangerous, don't even attempt it. Walk, move, do something different. Don't the cliffs and stuff. Don't worry about all that crap. Now, if it's in the river and the bird's floating away, I still don't let my dogs run down the bank and jump in the river to pick that thing up. I will personally, with the dog, run down the river and do more of a perpendicular and let the dog go in and get it. But you just have to use common sense. If it's going to be dangerous, don't do it. Is the angling away from the blind? I'm having a hard time understanding.
So if, let's say, there's an obstacle, but it's not necessarily dangerous, and when he's sending the dog, he knows the dog cannot take a direct line to the mark, should he send the dog and just let it run its own path in hunting, or should he play it like a blind and send it in the route that the dog has to avoid whatever obstacle, and then hand signal so that he's worried that his dog is going to get all off on the lining when he's hunting because it has to run like clear down a bank or whatever instead of taking a direct line to the mark.
Oh, I see. If it's just a mark, let's let them go figure it out. Now, I don't like him running. If you're going to be a test guy on a mark, I don't want to running down the bank and jumping in the water. But if it's an obstacle where they've got to navigate to get over, maybe run around to get to the bird, let them do it. That's a dog. It's a hunting dog. They've got to figure it out. They've got to be able to decipher and problem solve. Let them do it. If it's dangerous, keep them out of it. And I know Josh the client, but don't worry about it too much. I don't think. Don't unless you're trying to go you're running a master test, is tight stuff. Let the dog figure out how to do those obstacles. I don't like seeing a dog run down the bank on anything. So on the river, I run my dogs down the bank and I kick them off perpendicular. So
you take them down the bank yourself?
Yes.
Do you heal them along the way as you're doing that?
I'm usually running.
Oh,
because the bird's floating away.
Get away. So like, let's go. And
the bird's floating
the dog
away.
Loves that.
The bird's floating away, and we're tripping over sticks and fences, and this is super fun. But usually we're running because the birds are floating away. And if you kick them off from the bank, they'll go down the river and get the bird. But now they're trying to fight the current to come back to you, and they won't get out of the water because they're not supposed to. It's just easier to keep all the cheating stuff down to a minimum by running down the bank and just jumping in perpendicular and then walking back up the bank with them.
So sometimes the answer is get off your butt and move yourself.
I run up and down the bank all the time. It's ridiculous. Yep.
Well, why don't we? I'm looking at the number of questions that we have left. Let's go ahead and move these questions to the next episode. How does that sound?
Sure. That'll be fine by me.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us once again. Tell all your friends about it. Come join us on the podcast group. And remember, we are now putting out episodes every Wednesday, so we'd appreciate that 5-star review for our efforts.
Let's do it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. See everybody at the line. Take that aim.
Take that fire, take it to the grave.